This is a series of StarCraft 2 that a lot of people are talking about. It was played yesterday during the GSL's round of 8. I haven't seen it yet. I don't really know what to expect, but I'm really excited to find out. So game number 1, we find ourselves on a map called... I think this is Amphion with the weird mineral wall right over there, playing right here in the top left-hand corner. With the blue Protoss pieces, we have none other than Stats and his opponent in the bottom left. Ooh, sending out multiple drones with the red Zerg drones. We're looking at none other than SHIN's main hatchery. It is indeed Amphion LC. Now, what in the world are we doing? This is a map that's a little bit funky, and it looks like SHIN has decided that because of that funkiness, he's gonna open up with... Is this a cheese? Is it a rush? I guess it is, yeah. We're gonna go for... We're gonna go for a proxy hatchery behind the opponent's natural expansion. Now, this entire left side of the map is only accessible for Stats if he decides to, I guess, mine out these mineral fields or destroy the rocks. Or, I guess, if he scouts with a probe and he sees that the mineral wall on his opponent's side of the map has been mined out. Technically speaking, a flying unit, of course, could have a peek, but sadly for Protoss, they don't really get any flying units until a little bit later. Now, Stats really does need to scout. For now, he is just happily making an expansion here at home. Generally speaking, the Cybernetics Core scout timing is considered to be the no-scout timing. That is really just there to, I guess, see if there's... Yeah, okay, he is just gonna scout and see if there's like a natural expansion on the other side of the map. But if this would have been a 12 fool or anything super aggressive, Stats would have already been in a world of trouble. 3 drones are gonna be making their way on over towards the other side of the map as well. And it looks like they are gonna be mining out these 3 individual mineral fields. Okay, they're gonna be bringing those resources back to the hatchery. And you know what? This quote-unquote no-scout timing that a lot of the pro gamers refer to is still gonna give him some information, because Stats is going to see that indeed this mineral line over here has been mined out. Sneaky, sneaky. No third base taken over there either. It looks like the drones are gonna continue mining those minerals over here, and the Lings will be able to just run straight into the opponent's natural expansion. Now, he doesn't know until right now, there you go, that he has been spotted. Additional Lings are gonna be running across the map, and Adept is coming. We have a Bingling nest together with Ling speed on the production tab as well. So SHIN has decided to go for a very creative early game all-in. Turns out the good old quote-unquote no-scout is a pretty decent scout in this particular game, regardless of what's going on, huh? Yeah, in a weird situation like this particular one, I mean, this is still super tough though for Stats. He just doesn't have any unit production at this point. We've got a robo facility together with a Stargate. Of course, Stats is fantastic when it comes to defensive StarCraft play. Oh my god, don't get the Adepts around it. Looks like the shield battery is just barely within range. That would have been a disaster if that was just barely outside of range of that battery, but a lot of damage has still been done, well, I guess to the energy of that shield battery, although there will be an overcharge available. Bunch of Zerglings have been split off from the pack to try and go after the Nexus itself. And now Banelings are coming up, and I do not know. No, Stats has no idea. Stats does not know that this is indeed a complete all-in. We should go on hold position. The Adept is going to have to sacrifice itself. Battery overcharge, however, will keep it alive for the time being, despite the fact that the shield battery right now is unpowered. We do have a lot of probe losses, though, but 12 probes is actually quite manageable. Especially considering the natural expansion has not been finished off. Okay. Yeah, at this point, SHIN is gonna get a significant worker lead. Void Ray is coming up. And even though that is usually a unit that is quite mediocre, I think in this particular instance, it's perfect. Because obviously it can continuously deal damage. It's just a bit expensive. Not 100% certain about the Robo facility, though. I feel like the Robo facility might be a bit of a waste. Not exactly sure what we were planning on using that for. Maybe you wanted to like... Oh my god, more Banelings showing up. They're gonna try and just kill as many probes as possible. Only 10 workers remain for now. And that is, of course, less probes than you actually start the game off with. I think right now, yeah, SHIN going after that natural expansion is a good choice. Assuming he can actually kill it, I don't think he should be able to. Plus, I am wondering if maybe he should have been making queens over here instead. I think he intended on already winning the game by now, and he is certainly ahead. but I don't really know if we can consider this to be like a groundbreaking advantage, because he's probably gonna lose all of this, and I think he's actually committing a little bit too much right now. So he's hoping that these Zerglings on the right can distract the Void Ray. It looks like that mission has been successful. More and more units are, well, at the very least on the brink of destruction inside of the main base. Probe's trying to mineral wall, but it looks like, oh my god, he's aiming for another massive detonation. Nice control right there though by Stats. Does keep the majority of this alive. Yeah. This defense over here has been really good. That was a ton of Zerglings and a bunch of Banes going down for really only 2 probes. The Immortal, an interesting choice, because it's one of the worst unit against Zerglings and Banelings. But in this particular instance, I think it worked okay. Yeah, Shin should have given up on this a little while ago. So that's exactly what he's doing right now. He's expanding at home. Of course, one thing to note, though, is that Stats can start using both of the Nexi here to reproduce some of those workers. Void Ray, in the meantime, 18 confirmed kills, is gonna slowly work away at that hatch. Very cool in right there by Shin, but I think it was not as cleanly executed as it could have been. I think he should have given up on it a little bit earlier, or maybe gone for a slower variant where you do build queens. Because ultimately, as soon as a Stargate unit pops out, even if it's an Oracle or whatever, it's gonna be really good against the Ling Bane-based push. I wonder if Stats should have gone for that Robo facility so quickly. He probably didn't expect the Banelings, right? So he was hoping that maybe he could keep a couple more workers alive than he ultimately did. But anyways, Big Daddy Immortal over here. He's gonna be on hold position to try and complete this wall off. There's obviously still a secondary opening into the base. Drones have actually been produced out of that hatch. May as well, I guess, use the cocoons. A couple Zerglings also coming up, but they're gonna be mining over here on the low ground, and after 6 minutes and 45 seconds of drama, we are sort of in a relatively good game. Yeah, we're just, well, with a very explosive start, we've just had both players reduced to very low worker numbers for this particular point. This, by the way, kind of reminds me of one of those Mario Kart speed-up zones. It's not. This is just an indicator where Reapers can be jumping up and down. But every time I see this, I'm like, ooh, kind of looks like he can get a nice little boost. Bunch of Zerglings going to the left side of the map. We have a bunch over here at the front as well, ready to shade in, or I guess a run in as soon as the shade over here disappears. So far, though, good control here once again by Stats. I gotta say, Stats has really stepped up his game. So, most of the top tier Protosses right now, right? So, Hero and Max Specs come to mind. They're obviously good defensively, but overall, I would categorize them as aggressive Protoss players. They really love being in your face. Hero a little more so than Max Specs, but there's no denying that both of them do like being aggressive. Stats is an entire opposite side of that coin. He loves to play defensively, and this has been considered to be a mediocre style at best in 2023, 2024 or so. And really, when Stats first came back from the military, I wasn't too impressed by it, but it looks like he's figured out a way to make most of those defensive strategies once again work. It was very easy right there for Stats to lose this game so far, and I think he's actually managed to put himself in a good position. If he can get the cancel on the opponent's third hatch, that would be massive. Brenda's not gonna win that fight. We only have 3 queens in total. I think we may have, we maybe should have gone after the queen. He does not need to bleed out any units though. Where's the oracles? Okay, 1 oracle, no, 2 oracles actually inside of the main base. 2 drones? You know what? Doesn't sound very significant in a normal game of StarCraft, but 2 drones percentage-wise off of only 36 really is quite significant. Twilight Council and Forge on the back of this. We've got ourselves an attempt at a 3rd Nexus. I quite like the timing right there of the 3rd Nexus, because it's going to make it difficult here for Shin to really kill it. If these links were on the right side of the map, maybe it could have been something they did. Big Daddy Immortal right now leaving his post to go after a couple Zerglings. Fair enough. I think this will ultimately be okay. Oracles not apparently brought back home. They're just trying to harass this mineral line to the best of their abilities. Okay. So, ultimately, both players are right around 69 supply. They've got themselves... Okay, sorry, I gotta do it. Sorry, I gotta do it. Where's my button? I can't find it. Where is it? Nice! There you go. Well, I mean, they're still right around 69 supply, even when I did find, ultimately, the button on my soundboard. It's gonna be Blink, together with +1 for our Protoss player. So, the follow-up here is surprisingly conventional. Yeah, so Stats really just opening up in the strangest way possible. Honestly though, like one thing to note here, right, is that, so when it comes to different Protoss early game scout timings, we have a few different moments in which Protoss likes to send their probes across the map. Their scouting worker, that is. So it's either right at the very beginning of the game, after building a pylon, after building a gateway, or after building the Nexus and the Cyber Core. And to clarify, the pro gamers, they refer to that last option as the quote-unquote no scout. Because if your opponent decides to go for an early game cheese, you usually with that scout timing, the one after the Cyber Core, would not see anything coming in anyways. Now imagine this game if Stats did decide to go for an earlier probe scout, right? If he would have picked up on this a little bit sooner, I think he would have been in a, like considering the timing of the scout right there, I think he would have been in a really good position. But despite the fact that this was the worst possible scout timing for him, other than, I guess, not scouting at all, he still found himself in a, after some solid control and some solid decision making, he still finds himself in a good position. So it's gonna be a Spire right now on the back of this here for Shin. Roaches with +1 melee and a Spire, you love to see it. 4th hatchery coming up out front as well. Lynx in the meantime have found a bit of an angle over here, but Stalkers together with a battery are gonna be a-okay. There's an Observer in the mix over here. Probe has been brought across as well. We're not going to deal with a Warp Prism. Impressive attack right here from Stats too, because this is a bit of a funky timing, but I think he actually, yeah, hit the nail on the head here. This is the perfect opportunity to try and catch his opponent off guard right before a big Muta transition could be coming up. I don't think he knows about the Spire, but I think he knows that the Spire is an option and that this is a, or that this rather, is a vulnerable moment in the Zerg game plan. The only concern that I have with this push is that he didn't bring a Prism, so we're doing it off of a gateway, which makes this very all-in-y. We're gonna go all the way up to 9 gateways here in total. Shin's economy isn't amazing, but it's also not necessarily bad. Although that being said though, I wonder if he's got enough to hold this. +1 melee and Glial Reconstitution are finishing right now. Daddy Immortal is gone. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, pay your respects in the comment section. The Immortal that lived. I mean, I guess he's an immortal. He's not technically dead, because otherwise his name wouldn't be Immortal, right? That just, yeah. Maybe he just got warped back to Aya or something. We can pretend that he did. So I'm pretty sure he's died. Yeah, pretty sure he died. Anyways, big Stalker warpins. We're basically just doing a good old Stalker all-in. You know what? This is progression too as far as Stats' game plan goes, because remember when I casted him a couple weeks ago? He was still playing very passively. This is a rather aggressive variant of playing StarCraft, at least for Stats. I feel like he wouldn't have done this even just like maybe a month ago, but look at him, aggressive blink forward. I think he may have just done it. GG is called. Game number 1, a very explosive game number 1, goes in favor of the Protoss. That was beautiful. Now our second game for today, it takes place on another one of the new maps. This particular one is Ghost River. Ghost River is a map with an extremely short rush distance, and this time around, Stats immediately sends out the drone. I don't think this is even in line with like a 15 hatch. I'm pretty sure this is still going to block... Yeah, I think it would block a 14 hatch even. That's insane. You can get this probe across the map so ridiculously early. Yeah, that there's really no way that Shin is going to be able to take it. Now, Shin... pretending to taking the 3rd hatchery, but not actually doing that. He's decided to send a drone across the map in response to seeing Stats blocking the natural expansion. Okay, so I think he's saying here, if you're not gonna let me take my natural, I will be taking yours instead. Both of these players trying to confuse the opponent, both of these players trying to throw the opponent off, and well, even though Stats has got a bit of harassment happening here, decides to go for the pylon block. Now he's forced to deal with a hatchery over in his own natural. Alright, so once again, strange start to the game. Although maybe not quite as strange as in game number 1, because that is a brand new all-in that I have not yet seen before. I gotta say though, I am really impressed with the way that Stats has been stepping up over the last couple of months. I've mentioned this before in a previous video, but long story short, Stats after he came back from the military didn't really look quite as impressive. He managed to qualify for PM CET this year, which took place in early February, but if I'm being brutally honest with you, I don't think... Oh, he let the pylon finish. Interesting. I think that's a mistake, actually. I don't think he intended on doing that. But anyways, at PM CET, he looked decent. He managed to qualify, of course, but he didn't really quite look like the Stats from the good old days. Right now, Stats is showing some stellar gameplay. and doing it in a way that we sort of consider to be quote-unquote impossible in modern SC2, with this very defensive approach, I guess, and, well, just in general, taking a beating and then ultimately retaliating on the other side of the map with a big army. It's cool to see this different playstyle, once again, gaining some popularity, and it's really only Stats that seems to be able to pull it off at the moment, which is really neat. Anyways, ultimately, natural expansion will be taken, rather, and SHIN has also taken a base on the other side of the map. Okay. Once again, bit of a strange beginning, but ultimately, all the roads should lead towards a relatively normal game. Neither player really hitting supply blocks. Yeah, one of the issues right here for Stats is that obviously the Stargate is going to be a little bit delayed, but at the very least he's not getting his gas stolen. That's another one of those follow-ups that can be extremely annoying for a Protoss player when this probe, or this Zerg probe over here, the drone is just accepting its fate. Yeah, sometimes you get your gas stolen when you're playing Protoss and you're going up against a proxy hatchery in your natural expansion. Like, finally you shut down the proxy hatch, it gets cancelled, and then the drone goes into the main base and steals one of your gases. Super annoying. So Stats forced to take it a little earlier than he may have intended to, but I think he should be alright, and he should be able to get a Stargate unit across the map relatively early. Normal timing for a Oracle to arrive on the other side of the map is right around the 4-minute mark. I think it's going to be slightly later in this particular match, but considering it's Ghost River and the rush distance from natural to natural is so short, he should still be getting there at a very respectable time. Quite a few lings here were produced. I don't know if I love those, to be honest. I think he's hoping to get like a free cleanup on these adepts, hoping that they're going to shade in a spot where he can get the full surround on them, but so far, that has not been the case, and that actually means that Protoss now pulls ahead when it comes to the worker count. Natural expansion are also taken here by SHIN. You will be able to connect those bases with creep eventually, but it's all a little late. Oracle, by the way, did not go across the map. Instead, it's aiding right here these adepts. Looks like it's going to be able to zap a bunch of the Zerglings to death, and also help in taking the third Nexus. Normal timing for the third Nexus is usually right around 345 to 350 or so. So there is certainly a bit of a delay. But obviously you gotta keep in mind here that SHIN also successfully delayed his own base after going for the natural expansion on his opponent's side of the map with that hatch. Yeah, he's being a nuisance, but so far, Stats is looking, yeah, solid. Not really dealing or taking more damage, I guess, than he should be. Okay. So what's the follow-up going to be after this? I'm assuming it'll be a Twilight Council together with a Forge once again. It seems like that Mass Blink Stalker army really has gained new momentum in this particular matchup. Nothing really has changed as far as the strategy goes. It's just that Protoss players have gotten a lot better at it. And one thing, of course, to note is that the Baneling nerf is still in effect here. The Baneling is not quite as powerful as it used to be. Zerg players used to just sort of blindly go into +1 melee upgrades and then eventually go into the Banelings and the Baneling speed and all that. Still a style we see from time to time, but it has effectively made Zerg choose whether or not they want to go, for example, into a quick hive. And when you go into a really quick hive and you're going up against like a big Blink Stalker attack, you're in a lot of trouble. Whereas in the past, well, when you just played into the +1 melee and into the Ling Bane and all the rest of it, you would just hold those Stalker attacks significantly easier than Zerg players find themselves doing right now. So maybe that's why this new Stalker style, or it's not really a new Stalker style, I suppose, but why the Stalker style once again has found a little bit of momentum. Good bit of harassment done here. 8 drones in total, but it did come at the cost of 6 adepts and a pylon. I mean, that pylon, of course, was the one in the natural expansion. Yep, there's Blink together with +1 once again here for Stats. Lair coming up right now for SHIN. Relatively late Lair. We see that one taken right around the 4.5-minute mark or so these days, quite a bit, but curious to see if this is going to be the +1 missile upgrade. I would imagine it is, judging here by the timings of things. He's already going to go for a 4th hatch, which I do kind of like. Because if you see those adepts going around and you see the oracles, you do know that there will be a follow-up attack, but it really shouldn't be coming out anytime soon. The only problem here for SHIN, unless he's seen this, no. I was thinking maybe this Overlord snuck into the main base for just a moment. The only problem right here for Shin is that he doesn't really know the exact timing here of the blink and the +1. So, in a way, he's kind of playing in the dark a bit. I think he should be droning here for a little bit longer. But since he's taking some chances, I think he could be droning, but he doesn't know. So, it would be a risk. Are we going into missile upgrades together with a Hydralisk then? Interesting. So just good old Roach Hydra. Well, Stats playing StarCraft 2 in my mind is a blast from the past. Stats doing really well in tournaments in my mind is also a blast from the past. Him going up against Roach Hydra. So Roach Hydra was the go-to unit composition for many years in StarCraft 2. It was the bread and butter, you know? Like, it was like the go-to strategy for basically all things Zerg. It was good against practically everything. This is before the introduction of the Lurker Den and, you know, I guess even Vipers. This was Wings of Liberty style Zerg. Obviously, all of the units have gone through many changes, and it's honestly too many to list, but it's overall not a very common style anymore in 2024. I'm assuming we're gonna see Hydras with Lurkers here eventually, but there's actually no Infestation Pit yet and no Hive. In the meantime, upon scouting that this is indeed a Hydra transition, Stats has decided to go into the good old Psionic Storm, which I think is a brilliant chance, yeah, for him to show where he's currently at as far as that unit goes. I mean, this is a style that should be quite defendable. Now, there are some timing attacks here that could be a bit funky, like, for example, this one. I really love the way that Shin is playing the maps, by the way. He's attacking here with +1 and just ranged for the Hydralisks. Muscular Augment starts up right now as well. That's the Hydra speed improvement. But look, suddenly he shows up, and this is before Storm is done. We do have 4 Templar, however, and Storm is going to finish up within about 20 seconds. Stasis Ward over here could be quite handy, but I think the Zerglings are going to pop it, so not really that much value. Another Stasis Ward over here, not achieving too much, and suddenly Shin is everywhere. Brilliant push right here from the Zerg player. Massive supply lead right now, but Storm at this moment is done. You see some nice storms going down. +1 and the Blink research, of course, have already finished up as well a little while ago. Shin reinforcing this with more Roach Ling, trying to go after these Archons. That's the Templar that morphed together right over here after casting their storms. We have 1 Ravager split off from the pack, and this is a lot of damage done here. But again, if this is it, it's manageable. One problem right now for Stats is that he did lose his Cybernetics core. And without a Cyber core, you can't actually warp in additional Stalkers or Adepts or Sentries. So it's gonna be Zealots without charge for the time being. I wonder if rather than... Okay, yeah, he starts up the charge. I was saying maybe rather than going into the +1 armor upgrade, we should be going into the charge, but he does decide to queue up both. Still a 50 supply lead right now for Shindo. And he's just, yeah, holding down his Roach Hydra key. Right now, the Hydras are going to have their speedy upgrade too, which is going to make them quite a bit better. Okay. Honestly, the crisis management from Stats is really good. Like, that was a scary push, and in the middle of that fight, he fires up +1 armor and then also charge. Like, that's a strange set of things to fire up when you're under a lot of pressure, you know? Like, that is the type of thing that I look at and I'm like, oh, he is feeling confident that he's going to be able to hold this regardless. Either that or he had the money for it and he decided, you know what, I guess this is what we do. How many storms do we have available? We should have quite a few. Now, obviously, roaches are not really that great of a target. But, I mean, it's still 80 damage if they decide to live inside of that storm for the full duration. Immortal pops out of the Robo Facility 2. Aggressive blink forward. Stasis Ward at the bottom of the map is gonna, well, at least nullify those roaches for a little while. Shin going around this side. Still a very substantial supply lead. As a matter of fact, the South Korean Zerg, well, pretty much maxed out at this point in time. Going into the +2 armor upgrade, or sorry, the +2 missile upgrade as well for those roaches and hydras. Lovely little attack right here from Shin. I actually really like the pushes that he's going for. Look at the split right here on the armies, though, for Stats. This is, of course, where Protoss is usually quite vulnerable. Blinking the Stalkers in the top of your screen back towards the safety of the shield batteries. Using some reinforcements as well. Couple roaches here being a nuisance, but Stats actually stabilizes here. Now, I say that, he stabilizes on the right side over at the 3rd and the 4th base, but now there are also roaches and lings in the natural expansion. Shin trying to be everywhere. Protoss units here, very microable. The Zerg army, a lot more swarmy. Still just making more and more units. An additional 15 probes end up going down here. Well, Stats below 100 supply. I think he's pretty much dead in the water. You don't really want to count them out. You don't really ever want to count a Protoss player out when they have 4 base and decent worker numbers. Especially when they're going up against the Zerg player with Roach Hydra tech. I wonder if maybe Stats should be expecting lurkers or something like that, right? Like maybe that would be an amazing player for SHIN. I feel like that would really be the nail in the coffin. There's a chance here that SHIN is going to overextend, just like what he did in game number 1. This is from the GSL Code S, so you're playing, well, a scary big tournament, a very prestigious tournament as well. So you really want to try and win. And sometimes that forces players to, make decisions that they are not particularly comfortable with. Stalker warp in right now in the natural expansion. Yeah, Storm's here at the bottom of the map. These roaches are struggling together with the Hydra, I guess, to try and kill these Archons and the Stormy boys. In the meantime, Stalkers in the natural expansion now joined by Zealots. +2/+1, by the way, on these Protoss units, which is 2 additional upgrades compared to that of the Zerg. In the meantime, look at him. He is firing up so many expensive upgrades on the back of this too. Rather than prioritizing making units, Stats is actually just making more upgrades that will help him out in the long run. But I'm just wondering if there even is a long run in this particular game. Another Immortal pops out though, and Immortals are really nice units. +1 melee coming up here, so it looks like SHIN is doubling down on lair-based tech. Goes into the Baneling Nest as well. No Hive. No Hive. So SHIN is basically saying, I am gonna swarm you for the remainder of this game. I am not planning on going Lurkers. I'm not gonna go Vipers. I'm gonna overwhelm you and kill you with mass amounts of stuff. Not that long ago, SHIN was like 100 supply ahead. That has dwindled to a mere 50 supply advantage. Now that is still significant. But this position is much better than it was a couple minutes ago for Stats. Baneling speed is coming up. We have a suspicious group of Lings here in the bottom right-hand corner, not committing to anything. I think that they will be morphing themselves into Banelings here momentarily. And at this point, Stats is prepared to deal with an army of Roach Ravager and Roach Hydra, but he's not really set up to deal with a mass Baneling transition. So he's set up over here at the 3rd base. He needs some more units over there on the low ground. He's actually feeling like he can be aggressive. I mean, he finished up +3/+2. This is a really powerful Protoss army. If you look right here at the army size over time, I mean, I think Stats should chill for just a little bit. Massive Baneling war. Oh my god. 29, 31 Banelings coming up. A lot of them are over here on the other side of the map. Quite a few of them are at home as well. Stats, again, being more aggressive than he was a month ago. Biles there do end up killing one of the Archons. I don't think that Stats' eyes are gonna be over at his base. I mean, he's got nothing over here now. This is gonna deal a lot of damage. That's an entire mineral line worth of probes gone, deleted. But also, that was not cheap. This is gonna force a bit more of an all-in right here out of our Protoss player, who looks like he's got no more Templar remaining in this particular ball of units. That being said, though, it's quite a few Archons. Quite a few of these Overlords also are running dangerously low, but I think the main army from the Zerg has to be addressed. SHIN is finding himself in a position where he can potentially win the game. Aggressively forward, he manages to bile down that War Prism. Drones are forced away from their mineral lines as well. Stats right now, oh my god, is he doing this again? Is he once again grasping wins? Oh, this is so close. He's actually just done a whole lot of economical damage. GG is called. It's Stats who wins this series. 2-0. Brilliant series. Really well done right here by our Protoss player. I loved the all-ins that Stats went for. I've got a feeling it would have won against basically anybody out there with these exact same build orders, but Stats' defensive play is incredibly impressive right now. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Now, if you did, please take the 1 second that it takes to hit the like button down below. I know it's annoying, but it really does help. It's annoying whenever I ask. Today, I also want to give a special shout out to the Patreon supporters, these absolute legends that are scrolling across your screen right now. If you're interested in directly supporting the channel, head on over to patreon.com/LowkoTV. There's a couple of perks as well, but it seems like the vast majority of people that are signed up on Patreon don't really care about the perks. They just want to support me financially, I guess, which is pretty cool. Anyways, for now, thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to smile, and I hope to see you once again tomorrow for another video.